Okay, it looks like we're live on both platforms. Sorry to the people on YouTube. I'm just going to move my microphone here. I didn't realize it was behind. I'm doing Facebook on one device and YouTube on another device and trying to keep everything in sync. But today, I just got done with a 15-mile bike ride. So a friend of mine, we kind of like try to fit these into our schedule, and so like she'll call me like the night before and say, "Hey, do you want to go for a ride tomorrow?" So was able to fit that in. But in any case, today I don't want to waste anybody's time. Today, I'm going to be talking about why it's really important to have a relationship first and duplication model second, even though it's probably not what you're being taught. But then again, you be the judge whether or not what you're being taught is actually working for you. And I'm also going to cover, I'm going to try to keep this to 15 minutes. I'm also going to cover the broken duplication models that some companies are doing, these promotional things, and why you should be really cautious about certain types of promotions. So why is your duplicate, what are they teaching you on your duplication model? I know the company I just came from also is going to be a big announcement. I'm going to save that to the end. I've got some big news that I'm going to be sharing. And it seems like a lot of people are interested in what I've been doing. I'm getting private messages, and even the thing that you don't generally get is public messages of people saying, "Hey, fill me in. What are you doing?" So I'm going to be filling people in what I'm doing. I met with one person last night, and I've got two more I've got to respond to today. So, in any case, why? This is stuff that's going on. I just had a really good friend of mine. He's been trying to get me to take a look at his deal for probably 3 weeks now. Okay, and this is a symptom of these broken models, these broken systems that were based on stuff that went down, let's say 20 years ago. And I had posted today. I feel like I know I probably irritate a lot of people, but I feel like I'm a spaceship or a rocket ship on autopilot versus what these people are doing. Like he keeps a day or two before he's telling me, oh, so and so, like they're doing these impromptu meetings. Like why would you do that in 2017? Like he sent me something like they're doing this meeting on Friday. I'm like I'm a very busy person. Okay, here's the deal. The people you want in your business are people who are not sitting around, okay, watching TV. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Okay, this is your life. You live it however you want. But if you want to, if you're entrepreneurial and you want to get ahead. Like all the entrepreneurial people I know that are looking to get ahead are not sitting around for hours waiting for the next, I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched like the next series. I'm like, I just can't plan my week around being at a certain place at a certain time to watch this next reality TV show or this next sitcom or whatever. And, and the great, and this is, the great thing in the century we're in, or this decade, is you don't have to do that. Like everybody I know that are busy people, they're binge watching something on Hulu or Netflix or on another app. So they're not sitting. People are not sitting waiting for your deal to fall in their lap and dropping everything they're doing or planning to get to your deal. Okay, so you gotta change your deal, okay, in order to fit this new lifestyle. Okay, if people are sitting there binge watching their, hi Mike, how you doing? If people are binge watching, okay, your somebody's TV series, right? They want it all at the same time. If you can't give them everything at the same time with your deal, like why are you doing it? It's like I'm sure when Henry Ford was really successful at, at doing the car deal, selling cars, I'm sure there were still people out there, okay, that were, still really expert at horse whips, buggy whips, and selling the latest, horse and buggies, okay. The horseshoer was still getting business, okay, but that business was, I'm sure, dwindling over time. So you got to change the way you're dealing with people, the way you're working with people. Same thing with these duplication models. All right, I just watched a video, okay, from somebody I know that was hugely successful in this industry 25 years ago. And what was it? Power lines, like how to talk to people, give them the elevator pitch. Okay, yeah, worked years ago. Now people don't have to work with strangers. I said this in the last video. We've got social media. If you haven't connected with the person, they're not compelled. Okay, so like you literally have to have somebody that's in dire straits. Okay, not that they won't maybe buy into your deal, or like you might be able to talk them into buying into your deal, but your first sale is your last sale. Okay, your first sale is your last sale. How do we make money in any of these industries, direct sales or nutritionals, or you make money on all the sales, okay? You don't want a one-time customer. One-time customers, there's not enough money, especially if you're in network marketing, there's not enough money in that first deal to help you survive more than 30 days. And you can't get enough people now. And this is why these companies are merging and downsizing and right-sizing and, trying to find this other way of doing the business. So how do you get around that? You have to start with the relationship. Okay, and I talked about that in the last, and I get most of these. I get these like watching what other people are posting, and it's like you got to start with the relationship. You got to start with a connection, and then once you've got that connection, now what you're showing them in the next step, okay, is critical. So the duplication becomes critical. It has to look like we're still in a, and I use these terms, and again, I'm not trying to annoy anybody, but I'm just trying to put the reality out there. People still have a 9-to-5 mentality because that's what's been ingrained into us for the last 100 years. We haven't progressed to the point where people aren't thinking about a job, okay? So even though we're showing them a business, okay, the only thing they can relate that back to is the last job they had, okay? So you start at 16, you have a boss and you have a certain schedule, and you see where I'm going? Boss, schedule, you press this button, it does this, you press that button, it does that, you put this into the machine, it does this. So that's the thought pattern, okay? Very linear thought pattern. So we have to make these things look like, okay, coming in, look, act, smell, taste like it's still, okay, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I made, was trying to think, okay, we can jump into, these people are starting a business, so we can start showing them, like, this is the way business works. No. They've got to come in, and they've got to see how it relates back to, okay, what they've been accustomed to doing, which is linear work, okay, very focused. You do this, you do this, you do this, you go home. You do this, you do this, you do this, you go home. Okay. After 5 days or 2 weeks, or every other week, you get a paycheck. Okay. So that's what they're accustomed to. That's what you have to show them. Okay. Step by step. Boom, boom, boom. Next. Boom, boom, boom. Next. And it's got to make sense to them. Okay. A lot of these things, when do they start? They go into this big, huge, again, made the same mistakes. Made the same mistakes. Did it for years. And in the last company, okay, I started to branch out and find out the people who were successful in this industry were not doing that. End of sentence. Period. End of sentence. Okay, they were not doing that boom, boom, boom thing with the power lines, and they just weren't doing it. Okay, You go to their YouTube, okay, it was step one, step two, step three, 30-year-old system, okay. When you talk to them in person and you go through what they're actually doing, it's not the step one, step two, step three. That's for the people that don't want to take the time to connect and learn, and so they give them the, you know, okay, the same old system. The people who are actually doing the business are being shown a completely different way to do it. It's not their public face of the easy, the armchair thing. Okay, I know it sounds weird, but there's somebody who was very successful in this industry that basically said you gotta, kind of like put stuff out there for the 80%, and then the 20% and the 5%ers and stuff like they had it all broken down. So for the 80%er who's really is just going to be happy selling a couple things or whatever, that's and they just want to stay connected. Here's how you can do the business, okay. And for the the 5%er who's the real go-getter, who's going to be working the business, you got to treat them totally differently. So that's what they do, okay. So you can't handhold everybody in your network, and it's an unfortunate thing, but you just can't do it. What did Jim Rohn say? You can help 1,000 people, but you can only carry like one person on your back, okay. And so like it's just physically impossible. And that's the other thing that happens with these duplication models is they teach you a duplication model that ultimately is not sustainable. And I've seen this over and over with these three-way calls, and like this is all antiquated stuff that you had to do back in the day. But even with them, and this is what would happen like 2 companies ago, we would get so big that if the person wasn't making a certain threshold of income or generating a certain number of points per month in the network, you couldn't take their call. Okay, you would have to direct them to, again, how do you deal with the mass? Okay, it's like who's going to see the concert versus who's in the locker room, or who's going to see the game, who's in the locker room. Okay, who's going to see the concert, who's backstage in the green room. It's things like that. So it would get to the point like the upline leaders would not take your call, that you'd go to voicemail. Okay, if they saw your phone number and wasn't somebody they recognized, they couldn't they just didn't have time to get back to you. Okay, because they were just that busy doing these 3-ways and all this crazy stuff. So you had to see them at an event, okay, and work with your immediate upline. They just could not do it. And they teach these, it's even worse today, okay, because you got so many people coming into these networks now, coming and going and all this other stuff, and nobody really getting to those levels anymore. So you don't know who to work with, and it's just like I've seen people just totally burn out and go back to the company and say, look, I'm just not making, this is what happened in the last company, like I'm just not making the level of income I need to make to sustain a 20-hour day. Like I didn't buy into a 20-hour day, and all they're doing is going from phone call to phone call to phone call, jumping on the webinar, back to phone call to phone call to phone call, because that's what they were taught to build, 3-way calls and all this other stuff. So duplication is important. Relationship first. Okay, I'm going to do a whole webinar series on building relationships in 2017. Go back to my last video, went into a lot more detail on that. But then I was seeing like people were selling on the duplication model. Well, if you don't have a relationship with somebody in 2017, then you're never going to get to the duplication model. And this is why most people are not getting past that. Where are the signups? They're not recruiting. Like, why can't I recruit anybody? I did your 10-second pitch. How come people are not, they're not looking at the video, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. So there's a 3-step duplication model, which is give them the pitch, give them the video, right, and follow up. Well, they never get to the video. Okay, person never opens the video. Because you never connected with them. They did one of these. Yeah. Next. You don't have a relationship with them. They feel Everybody that they need to have a relationship with, they're connected with, even on social media. Okay? We have these virtual, and social media made it 10 times worse, right? Because we have these virtual friends. Okay? We never communicate with them. It's just a number on a spreadsheet, right? If they say something cute and funny, we'll like it. Okay? But there's no real connection. So it's the same thing. They shared something with us that we didn't feel compelled to react to, right? Social media made this 10 times worse. People think, oh, social media has got to be it's light years easier than it used to be. No, because back in the day, people were like, oh, maybe I want this person to be like. We didn't have that many relationships, right? Relationships times 50 now. We didn't have that many relationships. I said this, like years ago. Like we used to have this book with like 75 to, average person had 50 to 75 people in this book. Okay, friends and family and average person 50 to 75. Now the average teenager has 600 people. By the time they're out of college, they've got like 600 people in their phone, right? Partially driven by social media, a lot of it driven by the fact that everybody they've ever connected with from middle school, right? From middle school on to whenever, right? All those people collect in your phone because all you're doing is adding them to your phone. So like we used to lose contact with everybody. Like once you went from 4th grade to 5th grade, right? If you weren't in the same classes, like you had all new friends, right? Like you didn't hang around with those old people. You went to a new school, you went to a middle school, everybody went to different middle schools. Like you lost contact with all those people. There was no way to stay in contact. It just wasn't. Now I'm reconnected with a lot of people I went to school with, right? So it's totally different. And so you think about it, like I think about it this way, like a lot of people that I lost touch with for 25 plus years and now reconnected with. Think about it now. The average, kid that's in my little 8-year-old cousin's got, he's got obviously not a sophisticated phone, but he's collecting he's collecting contacts already. He's just turned 9. So that's got just one of those pay as you go phones for his 9th birthday. So there's stuff so inexpensive now. We don't lose contact, so we don't need to connect with strangers. You got to change the way you're connecting with people. Relationship first, then duplication model. Doesn't have to be days or weeks, or it could be hours, but build the relationship first. Get the information, right? Make some type of a relationship. Find out where they fit. Then duplication model. Now, if the person knows you, right? If they've gotten some contact with you, you're not a stranger anymore to them. There's some fit there where you guys are, there's a connection where there's like, oh, I really like this person now because they're, doing X and I do X. Okay. Now you can share now the duplication models that could work, because now when you give them the pitch, right, you're not a stranger anymore. Right? So you can't reverse that. You can't build a relationship based on a power line anymore. People don't need you. Okay. They've got 50 million other. All right, average person on Facebook has 200, average I think is 200 friends, right? So why do they need somebody new in there? And, a lot of, and I know people are going to be thinking, well, so-and-so was able to do those connections. Well, they're good, right? They're able to spin if you're a salesperson, you're really good at building relationships, but again, it's not the average person that can do that. It's not the average person. Average person coming in, is not used to developing those types of relationships. So you can't, this happens all the time. People are trying to equate themselves so like, I can do that thing, right? We teach people, I can do that, show them in a way that they feel like they can do it very easily. But these people that are doing this, I do that in a way where I give them tools to make that work. Other people think that their skills, like they don't recognize, they're not doing it on purpose. They don't understand that their skill is a skill that everybody doesn't have. So that becomes a huge issue. Okay, if it's a skill that you have, like they don't understand that, why can't everybody do this? They think everybody can do what they do. It's not the case. If people around you, if you're enrolling people and they're not able to do what you do, you need to change the model. Okay, and that's what I do. I keep changing the model, honing it updating it. Okay, how do I make this in a way that other people could do this? They don't need to have a certain skill. Okay, the people that use my tools I don't want them to have a programming degree to be able to use my technology tools. You got to keep it simple. Okay, so you don't need any type of degree. Average person can pick up my tool and use my tool to make the connection. Okay, bottom line. Now, another thing to stay away from, and this is starting to pop up, is these 60-day, 90-day recruiting things. Okay. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. Just watch what's going on in these companies that are doing this stuff. If you got a 60-day or a 90-day recruiting thing to create a recruiting frenzy, this is what makes companies unravel today. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and anybody that's built this business knows this, when you bring somebody into the business, the first thing that they ask you is, how did you enroll? Okay, how did you get started? Because especially if you're successful, okay, if you've got any type of moderate success, they're going to ask you, because they're going to want to what? Duplicate your success. How did you get started? If you've got a 30-day or a 60-day or a 90-day recruiting thing, what do you do when that runs out? Okay, this is not a promotion. This is a recruiting hook. Okay, so I don't use 30-day, 60-day, 90-day recruiting hooks because they run out. And then what do you do in 90 days? How did you get started? Oh, well, I used this special code, and like we got codes and we did this, and you got the special package, and oh, okay, all right, I want to get started. Oh yeah, that ran out. Now what did you just do? You just created confusion in the person's mind. Well, now I don't know if I can do this because that's not how you built your business, right? You just got to think of this stuff logically, okay? Like logically, the person's going to be looking at you going, well, like, how am I going to build my business now if this deal that, like, if this hook that you had, the special thing, the special package that you had is gone, right? I saw that in the last company I was in, right? They would do these 90-day recruiting things. And then at the end of the 90 days, during the 90 days, there'd be this sign up thing, and oh my God, we got record month after record month after record month, and then the promotion would run out, and then what? Then all of a sudden, start to unravel, right? So you got to think of these things logically. Let the company do that stuff. Like, I don't go back to the company and say, why are you doing that? Let the company do it, but just don't participate in those things in that type of level, okay? Because and not every company does it the same way, okay? So I was just looking at a company. What they did was, getting started, everything was exactly the same, okay? But what they did was in order to make a level jump, they reduced the volume requirement for it was like 60 days or something. They reduced the volume requirement to hit another rank level. Okay, so that's how they were getting people. And with this particular company, when you hit that rank volume, there was a lot of stuff, and it was a lifetime deal. So it wasn't like when you just hit the rank, and then if you didn't hit the rank the next month, you didn't get the higher wholesale, or lower wholesale volume and things like that. So what they did was they said, you know what, you used to have to bring 3 people in to get this rank volume. For the next 60 days, you only need to bring 2 people in, okay? Or you only need to sell 2 of these packages instead of 3 of the packages. That I would participate in. Why? Because it didn't change. Like, if somebody said to me, how did you get started? Okay, I got started the same way. I bought this startup pack. Okay, it was X number of dollars. You got X amount of product in the startup pack. Didn't change. How did you get started? Didn't change. Okay. If they ask me how did you get to this rank volume, now that's a little bit different. Okay, but nobody ever asks you how did you get to this next rank, right? All they ask you is how did you get started. If how you got started is not congruent with the way that they're going to get started in 90 days, okay, or they're going to be starting people in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, don't participate in it. okay? Because all you're going to do is create confusion, and you're going to create attrition, okay? Because people are going to be coming in, and they're going to be saying, how did you get started? And you're going to be saying, well, that it was a special deal, and it's just not available anymore. So again, they're great during that period. Looks like everything's wonderful. Oh, we're breaking volume ranks, and people are breaking breaking ranks, and we're doing all this volumes, and then all of a sudden it starts to unravel. So do you want something that's good for 30 days or 60 days? You want that a 30-day or 60-day business? You're golden. Do it. If you want something that's you're building to for 2 or 3 years, don't get hooked in those deals. So relationship first, duplication second. You're going to see your business change. It's not that duplication models have stopped working. It's the fact that we're not connecting with the people first. So it's like sharing something on Facebook that, I think I said this earlier. It's like sharing something on Facebook that really, I don't feel compelled to look at. So if you're not really connecting with the person, you're a virtual friend on Facebook to them that just shared something with them that they don't feel compelled to look at. Okay? So you've got to make them feel compelled. You got to make them feel like it's important that I do this because I like Mike. Mike, it's like I made a friend with Mike, and now I kind of feel compelled to take a look at what Mike put out there because I like him. Okay? We only do business with people we know, like, and trust. Okay? I don't make the rules. Know, like, and trust. Okay? So, again, I'm going to be putting together, like, real webinar series on it, like training, because I'm going hook, line, and sinker into something new. I've got 2, thanks for the heart. I've got 2 deals going on, possibly a third. I'm waiting to hear on the third deal. I'm going to be going like really, really fast. And again, this is the reason why it's really important. If you can't share what you're doing with somebody in a binge watch, don't, because you're not going to get somebody like me. Okay, I got to binge watch it. Okay, I got to go from start to finish. I got to be able to do my research on it, and somebody. The average Joe who's in a job and gets all excited going to one of these events, eventually over time they're going to figure it out. But those are the people that start and in 30 days they're gone. Okay, so you don't want those people in your business. You want people like me who are go, 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 go. Like, I've got a busy week. I got to binge watch it. Okay, just get the stuff out. Think about this in 2017. I just started with a new company. Okay, I'm going to be putting information out about that. So my contract with the old company is over, and they merged and they did all these other things. And so I said, you know what, thanks, but it looks like just more of the same thing. And the old company really was kind of like it grew really fast and peaked, and then it was just a battle. And that's the reason why I started looking around to see what else is out there. How are people building their business in 2000? This was in 2016. It's like, how are people building their business in 2016? And I was seeing these companies that were growing, they're growing and sustaining the growth. And I was looking at my company that couldn't sustain the growth. And it was a lot of these things which are antiquated. Like back in the day, it didn't matter what your duplication model was, because in 90 days you can come up with a new one. And no one would know what the previous duplication model was. You can't do that anymore, right? Because people have social media. Like, all they have to do is go out and, and if you lie to them, it's easy for them to figure it out. So I just did start with a new company. I'm going to be putting announcements out about that. Again, don't look at my social media, because you're not going to really see anything on my personal page about the company and all this other stuff. I just found a sales rep last night. It's going to help me with my brewery app. So like I said, I've got 3 things going on, and I'm probably going to be doing an affiliate deal with a long time friend of mine who does. It's not network marketing. It's a product to help people who are kind of stuck and looking for ways to. He's a social worker, and I've known him for 25 years, I guess, probably. So he's been putting out some tools and stuff, and I've been watching, and I said, hey, this was the other thing, and this other company is like, oh, you can't sell that. Like everything I tried to do was like, oh, you can't do that. It's like, well, you could sell it, but you can't sell it to the your like our distributors. Well, I'm going to put it out. This is 2017. I have social media. Like, I can't keep it secret, you know? So it was like I was always in jeopardy of losing my network. Like, you don't know how liberating it is to not have to worry about losing your network because you want to have multiple income streams. So, you know, this whole you can't do that, you know, thing is just like, I'm not getting any more of those you can't do that deals. You know, everybody needs to have multiple income streams today. So in any case, 12:30, my 15 minutes went to 30 minutes. I babbled again. So keep a lookout for, you know, my products that are going to be coming out. Again, my webinar series is going to be free. Any of the tools I put out are generally free. So have a great day.